A lot of people wonder, is hard sparring actually worth it, or is it doing more harm than good? Well, in this video I want to speak about when to use sparring, who it's used for, and how you can get the most out of it as a martial artist. Okay, so first off, who am I? Well, I've been training for over 7 years, nearly 8, and I've been coaching for a considerable amount of time as well. I've had fights in Muay Thai, Kickboxing, I'm jumping into MMA now, so I'm definitely qualified enough to speak about my experience when it comes to sparring, because I've seen a lot of it. And let me just clear something up. First and foremost, I know that there's a bit of a trend going around at the minute with a lot of people saying that you don't need to spar at all. I think that's complete BS. I know that Max Holloway, if you guys know who that is, said that recently, that he doesn't do any sparring, or that you shouldn't do any sparring.
Save it. You guys don't need to do it. You sparred enough. You train enough. You know how to punch somebody. You know how to slip a punch. Why are you gonna take unnecessary damage?
But I bet up until the point where he was saying it, he sparred loads. I bet he sparred all the time during his rise, because that's how he got good. And now he's at the point where he's an elite level fighter. Of course he's going to say that he doesn't need sparring, but it doesn't say that there's not a place for it. So with that being said, what is sparring actually used for? What can it benefit? Well, the whole point of sparring in general, not even going hard, is to use the skills that you've learned through pad work, through drilling, and to implement those skills into a real environment where you have the pressure of someone actually trying to hit you in the face. And that's the whole idea of it. That's the whole premise, is to put those ideas and concepts into reality and try to implement them slowly over time. So if you're a complete beginner, there isn't much point in sparring, because you haven't already gathered enough information and enough material to know what to do. So you're just going to be throwing random shit, and it's going to be all off technique, and you're probably going to build up some bad habits doing it. So there's no point in doing hard sparring or any sparring if you're a complete beginner. But let's say you're a little bit further along than that. So let's say you're not a complete beginner in combat sports. You've been striking for 1 to 3 times a week, maybe for a month or so. I'd say at that point you're probably ready to spar. But the way that you approach sparring is really important. As I said before, the whole point of sparring is implement the information that you've gathered from doing your technique drills, right? So you should always have that in the back of your mind. Not, okay, I'm going to go out there and freestyle it and just do whatever I'm good at. You should always have something in your head that you're working on, something that you're trying to achieve in that session. A lot of people will go into sparring just wanting to beat the other guy, but you don't need to. You don't need to win, because it's not a fight. No one's scoring it. No one's even watching, probably. So there's no point trying to win the sparring session. Also, you just look like a dick. You know, when I see people coming in and they're just throwing, it's just like, I just won't spar these people. And also, I think they're knobheads. And you don't want to be one of those people. You're in there to learn from each other. And you can't do that if you're just trying to beat that person every time. So, a huge recommendation that I would give to anybody who is sparring is to look at the weaknesses that you have and implement that into the session. Let's say that you don't kick much. Well, try to concentrate on every time you throw a combination, stick a kick on the end of it. Because that's how you build up good habits, and that's how you actually get better at sparring. That's how you actually get better at fighting. Alright, so let's get into the second thing. When do you actually go into hard sparring? Well, contrary to what a lot of people think, I don't think that you should start around hard. I think what you should do is what I like to call progressive intensity, which is basically where, let's say you start at 20% of what you're capable of, and your partner starts the same at 20%, nice and light. You can then warm up with your sparring partner and increase the intensity as the round goes on. So maybe 30 seconds in, you ramp it up to 30 or 40%, and you just keep going. And the key is, the trick is to keep going until the other person is starting to wane, starting to struggle a bit, and then just stay at that level or maybe slightly below. And that's a great way of gauging how good your opponent is and what they're comfortable with as well, you'll start to notice that they're uncomfortable with the situation if you go past a certain point of intensity for you. And maybe you're on the other end of that. If you're at let's say 100% and the guy's like still piling it on, and then it's going to be too much for you, you're going to end up picking up injuries and you're going to lose motivation and come away from it feeling all depressed. So work out with your sparring partner as you go on through the rounds where you're both leveling out at, and that's how you get the best kind of rounds. My hardest sparring sessions never start off hard. They usually start at a pretty decent rate, maybe like 40 or 50%, if I know that person very well, right? If I've done loads of sessions with them, I know kind of what their level is already. But even so, I'll still start fairly light, and we'll go and we'll do a couple combinations, feel each other out a bit, try some stuff we don't usually try, and then when someone ramps it up, because it usually ends up happening, sometimes you might catch someone a bit harder than what you think you're going to catch them with, then the other person retaliates, not in a bad way, but they try to respond with the same level of intensity, right? And that's how I've gone into these heavy sessions, which are sometimes good, you know. It's sometimes good just to let it go. I mean, it's when you get to a point where you're hard sparring and there's no venom attached, like, you love those people way more. I've come away from beating the absolute crap out of one of my sparring partners and just thinking like, oh my god, I love you. You know, yeah, you just develop a mutual respect, but you only do that if you respect each other's rate at which they want to be at, which kind of ties into what I was saying before. So when does sparring actually hurt? When should you not use it? Well, of course, when there's a huge difference in skill level, then you can still spar with that person, just make it super light. You're not going to get much out of it when there's a huge skill gap, but at least you're getting some rounds in, at least you're getting the work, and it means you can experiment more. Now, what a lot of gyms do wrong here is they'll usually go from what's called duck drilling, which is 1-for-1. That person throws a combo, you throw a combo, 1-1-1-1, and then they'll go straight into sparring. And there's no direction at all. It's just, okay, time for sparring, and then people just jump into it. You have people who have never done it before, you have people who have been there for years, you have that one dickhead who just wants to take everyone's head off. It's all just a big soup of mess. And this is really what gyms get wrong, and what you need to do as a fighter and as an athlete is to structure it yourself, because you can't rely on the gyms. I've been to many and I've seen a lot of them work this way. So what you need to do is talk with your sparring partner, and it doesn't have to be a long or lengthy conversation. It can be really simple, and sometimes even just visually as well. You know, it's just as simple as, my knees hurt, so why don't we just do boxing? Or, my knees hurt, why don't we just focus on this or that? And it's also a good conversation starter as well. When I see someone I haven't seen before, first thing I ask them is, how long you been doing this? How long you been doing Muay Thai? Or have you done any previous experience in boxing? Because then I can see kind of where they're at, where I need to start the sparring level. So ask your opponent, see what level they're at, and then talk to them and gauge where you need to start things. And if you can do that, and then if you can also remember in your head to focus on things that you're not necessarily good at, that's how you're going to get a really effective session. That's how you're going to have a lot of fun as well. And that's the best advice that I can give when it comes to sparring. So if you can relate to this or you found it helpful, subscribe to the channel, because I'm a small creator. I'm a small channel, so, you know, every bit helps, right? And let me know, what is the worst sparring experience that you've had while being at the gym, while being at training? Let me know down in the comments. Alright, that's about it. Thanks.